Growing up in Lincoln, I was raised Chinese Christian. That means I attended the Chinese Christian church, which is pretty normal. We had church every Sunday, but in this quaint little side auditorium branched off from a full-fledged church here in Lincoln. The entrance actually was set off by this rusty fire escape because it wasn't the main entrance to the building. And so every Sunday we'd have to pass under that to go to service. And it got to the point where, when I was younger, I thought church was something that was really sketchy and sort of not normal. But really it was just mine that was a little odd. Here is a picture of me with Santa Claus, who I thought was a god when I was younger. Then I learned about that story in Exodus where God tells Moses, "No one sees the face of God and lives." And that wasn't really the Christmas miracle I was looking forward to that year. But anyway, a more interesting result of my unconventional upbringing in the Christian faith is that I was absolutely ignorant of some of the etiquette. Namely, that there is this sort of gag order on religion. For example, at a dinner with friends, you always have to keep the conversation away from so-called controversies, which inevitably means religious opinions. Now first, I thought this was just my anecdotal experience, but as it turns out, it's systemic. About 49% of Americans rarely, if ever, discuss religion with people outside their family. And later, I learned the other half of this, because this doesn't affect just religion. Rather, we proper Americans can't talk about two things to polite company. That's religion and politics. Now first, I didn't get it. Especially the religion part. Now sure, no two people will share the same perspective on religious issues, and that's partially why it's such a taboo subject. And so I had to grow to accept this explanation. But it's really not the whole story, because Christianity is important to American politics in unique ways. It's enshrined in our money, in the Declaration of Independence, and in the original Pilgrim communities that founded our society. In other words, American politics is rooted in Christianity. Now, curiously nowadays, there's been a huge backlash to that. A Barnard Group survey found that from 1996 to 2004, the percentage of non-Christians who had a quote-unquote bad impression of Christianity nearly doubled. And the surveyors also found some of the problem. Around 3 out of 4 of all surveyed called Christianity too involved in politics. And nearly 9 out of 10 called Christianity hypocritical or judgmental. Clearly, these historic ties between Christianity and American politics have had a rather negative effect on its public image in the modern day. But now, I don't think it's right to just blame Americans being ideologically opposed to Christian politics, because I don't think that's necessarily true. But rather, Christianity also has this internal image problem. Simply put, when it comes to our beliefs, we believers don't know how to express them. And so often we just won't. And those who do speak out and bring up religion only do so in relation to political issues. Now, of course, in many ways, politics and religion are similar. They're both places where people find their values, their sense of right and wrong, and they're both communities for something bigger than ourselves as individuals. And so it's understandable that their goals overlap sometimes. But the mistake comes when we treat them the same way, because they're still not the same thing. And so we often treat them the same way, or if not, people will goad us into these prolonged political type arguments. I saw a study recently that sums this up nicely. Now, this is satire to the best of my knowledge, but it makes an apt point, which is that political discourse has a very particular tone to it, a way of framing discussions that may be appropriate for the elections, but clearly not for everything. So, we should aim to change the terms of this discussion, to change the form in which we conduct it, which doesn't necessarily require changing its content. Now, why do I say that? Because there are certain political facts about Christianity in the United States that we cannot change overnight. For example, that evangelicals generally vote in certain ways on certain issues. And that has been the huge sticking point for a lot of people. But these are all issues of content. They're doctrinal issues that pastors have debated and will continue to do so. But what all of us here today, us common people, or us non-pastors at least, what we all can do is change the way we think about and the way we hold these everyday conversations about religion, if we do at all. And if we can divest ourselves from the political model of conflict, we can open up these discussions to a diversity of viewpoints and then to a genuine understanding and connection between people. Because, well, politics, almost by its nature, is irreconcilable. One side will win when it counts. Religion is not that same sort of ballgame, and it doesn't do us any good to treat them the same way. What I imagine is a future in which we can freely open these discussions about faith, about ethics, and about community. Because whether we're religious or non-religious, or whichever religion we're a part of, we all have a stake in these issues. And these topics all matter. And they matter so much that we cannot afford to play it like the pundits. Now, of course, when you go to open these discussions, you'll never meet with perfect agreement. And that's just how it is. But only through trying this more open form of communication can we actually gain something to improve our communities and improve ourselves as individuals. And I think we should give that a chance. But we won't gain anything if we always set out with this singular goal to convert, which is almost like an expectation nowadays. Now, I don't mean to say that you need to compromise on your beliefs, and I don't mean to say that you need to agree to disagree. But rather, our beliefs are inevitably colored by encountering other people's opinions, by building relationships with them, and by maneuvering in these relationships. So in other words, these conversations, they're valuable in and of themselves. And really, it's on us for intentionally falling into these patterns of divisiveness that have been so counterproductive and so detrimental to Christianity and to the public image of organized religion as a whole in this country. Just talk for talk's sake. Then maybe it can be powerful, eye-opening, and maybe even fun. So I challenge all of you to raise the religion subject to a friend and break that silence. And I know it can be done because I used to do it all the time when I was younger and I didn't know any better. And I know it can be done because I've done it right here. Politics and religion are these two secret topics that we have to avoid at the dinner table. But let's decouple those two, and let's deal with them differently, because they are different, and we have the power to change the way we hold these discussions and the way we consider these issues. So let's leave the news media to deal with vicious political conflicts, and as for the rest of us, let's proclaim the good news instead.